Okay, so let's talk about why your book on Amazon KDP is not selling. Now, one of the biggest questions I get, or one of the most common questions that I get is, hey, Barry, I have my book, I published it, but it's not selling, right? Why is it not selling? That's literally the most common question that I get. I think here I'm meant to put why your Amazon KDP isn't selling and why your book on Amazon KDP isn't selling and how to fix it. Awesome. So the common question is, I have a book, why is it not selling? Now, here's the thing. I wish the answer was like super, super simple. And it's like, this is the reason why it's not selling. Oh, Barry, you're a genius. It's not like that. Okay, there's so many reasons why it might not be selling, right? And don't worry, the reason I'm making this video is to show you every single reason that it might not be selling. Now, here's the thing. Can I predict exactly your reason why your book is not selling? No, but I can give you the guide. So that way you can watch this video once and then you can take whatever I say in this video and you can apply it to every single book you already have and every single book you're about to make, right? I don't care if you're going to keep publishing for like the next 2 years. You have this knowledge for you for the next 2 years that you're going to be publishing, or 3 years or 4 years, or maybe you've been publishing for 10 years already and you want to do another decade of publishing. Great. You're going to have all this information. So you always understand why certain books are selling and certain books aren't selling. Now, guess what? You can apply this to your competitors as well and see why they're selling more than you. But anyway, let's get into it. I'm going to tell you every single reason why your book might not be selling. Actually, you know, I'm going to bring this second board. I actually have a second board right here. Well, I have 3 boards. I've got loads of boards. I got like 20 markers as well. I love whiteboards and markers, you get me? But I'm basically going to show you all the mistakes here, or all the things that are actually holding you back from making a bunch of sales. And I'll just explain it with this board because it's much, much easier. So where do we start? Well, we'll start from the beginning. So in order for you to even show up, right, in front of someone, so for someone to buy your book, obviously they have to see it first. If they never see your book, they're never going to buy it. They don't even know it exists, right? So first, you need to show up on Amazon. You need to show up. So first of all, you need to make sure that you're actually showing up for keywords, right? So let's say we are selling, okay, I'm going to use one example to take throughout the whole video because I'm not very good at coming up with niche examples. So let's just pick a random example. How to paint landscapes, right? Okay, because I see like a landscape picture over there my little brother drew. I don't know if you want to see it. Yeah, I'll show you. There you go. Check that out. Tell me that's not amazing. But anyway, it's kind of like a Bob Ross thing. But yeah, let me just reposition the camera now. So that's basically why I came up with the idea. So we're going to be publishing a book on how to draw landscapes, right? Now, one of the keywords that we want to show up for is how to draw landscapes, right? Obviously. Now, there's probably loads of keywords that we want to show up for. How to draw landscape for beginners, how to easily draw landscape, how to draw landscape books, things like that, right? Now, it might be how to draw painting landscapes, right? There's so many different keywords that we want to show up for. Now, if we don't show up for how to draw landscape, then people searching how to draw landscape book, they're never going to find our book. They're never going to buy it. That's why our book won't be selling. So step 1 is we need to actually make sure we show up for the keywords. So when it comes to keywords, there's basically 2 ways that you can show up for keywords. The first one is with your SEO, right? I'm going to get deeper into it, don't worry. And the second one is Amazon ads. These are basically the 2 ways that you can show up in the search results for certain keywords on Amazon. Now, the SEO and the ads are basically going to power your indexing algorithm, what you're going to index. What indexing means is Amazon knows that you want to show up for that keyword. So if I have, actually, let me show you here. It'll be much easier to explain. So first, your SEO, right? Your SEO. What is SEO? SEO is very simple. It's search, and I'm putting this because I keep getting comments of like, hey, Barry, you say SEO, but you don't explain what it is. So this is what it means. Let me just write it. I can't multitask. Search engine optimization, right? Now, there's very important keywords here. Search engine, this is how people are finding our book. And then optimization. This means making it better, right? So SEO is just basically making Amazon, or making it easier for Amazon to find keywords related to your book and then show it to customers searching for those keywords. So if we're trying to target how to draw, or actually let's do how to paint, because my brother painted that. So let's do how to paint landscapes for beginners. I'll put beginners right here. Beginners double N, right? I hope so. So we want this keyword. We want to show up for how to paint landscapes for beginners. What do? If we want to show up for this keyword, we need to make sure that this keyword is somewhere inside our SEO. What does this mean? This means that this keyword needs to show up somewhere on our Amazon page listing. So when you go on Amazon and you type how to paint landscapes for beginners, you're going to click on a book. Everything you see after that, that's the listing, right? You're going to see a bunch of text. You're going to see your title. You're going to see your subtitle. You're going to see the book's description. You're going to see the A+ content. You're going to see editorial reviews. All that text on Amazon, if you can highlight it with your mouse and it goes blue, then great. That means it's SEO-based text. Now, with A+ content, you might say, but what about the text on the image? I'm not going to count it as SEO. I'm pretty sure Amazon has like some AI that can like read the actual text on your A+ content, but they haven't confirmed this, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it happens. So SEO is anything you can highlight, actual crawlable text. So you can highlight it with your mouse. If you click and drag over the text, if it highlights in blue, great. That's text that Amazon can read, right? Inside that text, you can put keywords like this. So if I'm writing my description, I can put something like, in this book, I'm going to show you how to paint landscapes for beginners, right? It's part of the sentence. So now it's like, this keyword is certainly hidden in the sentence. The coffee just hit me, by the way, so that's probably why I'm just going to be stuttering for like the first 5 minutes, and then I'll be good. But anyway, how to paint landscapes for beginners. That's basically, we're hiding this keyword. So now, because we hid this keyword in the description, then Amazon can read this in the description, right? And then when people search this, our book will actually show up, right? You want to take all the keywords that you have, all the keywords, obviously relevant keywords. If I'm selling a how to paint landscapes for beginners, I'm not going to put how to paint cats, right? It's irrelevant. If someone's searching for how to paint cats, what are the chances that they're going to buy my landscape book? It's like two completely separate things, right? So first we need to focus on just the hyper-targeted keywords, which essentially means the keywords that literally explain what your book is about. It can't be anything else. So now if I was like just how to paint, if that's the keyword I'm targeting, how to paint, it can be anything. It is not necessarily landscapes. But if we're selling only how to paint landscapes, then this one is not as valuable because this can be anything. How to paint. If someone searches how to paint, loads of books are going to come up. How to paint cats and dogs and animals and children and people, and maybe landscapes will show up as well. But there's other options to be shown. But when someone searches how to paint landscapes for beginners, the options are very limited. And the only options are your book and the competitors' books that are directly related to your one. I hope everything is making sense. I promise everything will make sense by the end of this. So search engine optimization, make sure you have keywords inside your listing everywhere. Sprinkle them everywhere. Now, you're probably asking, Barry, what type of keywords should I have in my SEO? That's a great question. Most of the publishers that I talk to, they're curious about the broad keywords, right? So how to paint, that's broad. Why is it broad? Because it could be literally any how to paint book. Then you have more targeted keywords, right? Which is how to paint landscapes, right? But again, it's medium target because it's like exactly what we're selling. It's a how to paint book and it's specifically landscapes, not animals or anything else. However, the hyper targeted keywords are the best ones that you can have in your Amazon listing. Why? Because it also says for beginners. Now, the fact that we include for beginners, what does this mean? This means that we eliminate any other target audience. Again, we want to lower our possibilities. So if someone's searching how to paint landscapes for beginners, what are the chances they're trying to find something for kids? It's a little bit lower. What are the chances that they're trying to find how to paint landscapes for seniors? It's a little bit lower, right? But for beginners, it's more like the age range is usually like 18 to like 35 or 40 or whatever. But again, it depends on the niche and so many things like that. Everything is like, I'm giving you the broadest version possible just so it fits with your book. Again, I can't tell you exactly for your book, but you can take things from the video and apply it to your specific situation. So SEO complete. Actually, not complete, because there's one more thing. You might be thinking, which one of these do I put in my SEO? Here's the thing. Personally, what I tell all my clients is to start with the hyper-targeted keywords. Now, bear in mind, you're going to have loads of keywords. When you do your keyword research, if you do it effectively, you're going to have loads of keywords. You want to start with the hyper-targeted ones first. Why? Well, first of all, it's exactly what your book is, right? So you're making it very, very, very easy for Amazon to understand what your book is about, who it's for, specifically what your book is about, right? So you're making it easy for Amazon to understand your book. And if you make it easy for Amazon to understand your book, you make it easy for Amazon to show your book in front of the correct people, right? In front of the people that actually want to buy your book. Not people that might want to buy your book, not people that are looking for something else, and then maybe they buy your book. Literally people looking for your book, right? That's exactly what we want to do. So we start with the hyper-targeted. Now, guess what? When you start putting hyper-targeted keywords in your SEO, so your title, subtitle, description, A+ content, even editorial reviews about the author, all of those, everything that you can highlight, what ends up happening is you're probably going to run out of keywords, and then you're still going to have some extra space or digital real estate to put other broader keywords. You can put broader keywords. It's no problem. The best thing you can do is mix and match, right? Include loads of keywords. Don't stuff it too much. Make sure it still sounds natural when you're reading it, because when you're reading a description, you're looking at A+ content and you're reading the text, yes, you want to include keywords for Amazon, but you also want to include text for customers, for real life people. Because real life people are actually the ones giving you money. They're paying for your book. So if they're reading it and they're thinking, wow, this sounds like it was written for a robot, they're not going to want to buy your book. But if it sounds like it was written for a human, then great, they're more likely to buy your book. But anyway, you start with the hyper-targeted, and then when you run out of these, you can start implementing these in your SEO as well. Now, here's a very, very, very important thing. Before I move on to ads, I'm going to talk about ads as well, I promise you. But here's a very, very important thing right here. If you focus on hyper-targeted keywords first, what ends up happening is, let's say this is a hyper-targeted keyword, right? This right here, how to paint landscapes by yourself, that's a targeted keyword, not a hyper-targeted, because it doesn't include the niche, then the sub-niche, and then the target audience, right? I talk about this a lot on the channel. If you've been watching for a while, like you've heard me say this before. If you're brand new, this might be completely new to you. But hyper-targeted keywords basically mean that the keyword needs to include your niche, sub-niche, and target audience. You're giving Amazon 3 pieces of information about your book. So it makes it super easy for Amazon to show your book in the right places. So hyper-targeted keywords first. Now, when you run out of this, even if you index for these keywords, for the hyper-targeted one, and you don't put the broad one, you will still get indexed for the broad one. Because what Amazon is going to do here is going to say, okay, well, Barry gave me this keyword, but I will also be able to show for how to paint, right? Because it's part of the keyword that I gave it. I will also show up for how to paint landscapes. I will also show up for how to paint for beginners, right? I'll also show up for landscapes for beginners. So Amazon can take your long tail keyword, your hyper-targeted keyword, and then it can mix and match the words inside and show you in more places. Now, if you implement targeted keywords and broad keywords, it's just you're basically not gambling, right? You're not leaving space for Amazon to mess up. So you want to include as many keywords as possible. However, this is very, very important. Most of the times, 99% of the time, you're going to run out of keywords to put in your SEO. Not run out. There's going to be more keywords left over, right? So if you have 30 keywords that you want to target, you might only be able to fit 15 keywords naturally in your description, A+ content, and everywhere that we talked about. So you still have 15 keywords left. What happens now? Well, great. SEO is only one part of it. The ads is the second part. With the ads, you don't have to put anything into anything to make it sound subtle or make it sound normal. You can literally just give Amazon ads the exact keywords, whether it's broad or targeted or hyper-targeted. You can give them all the keywords, and then you can target exactly those keywords. Now, another question you might be thinking right now is, Barry, the 15 keywords we added to SEO, we have 15 left. Does that mean we only target the 15 that are left in Amazon ads? No, we don't. We target all 30 of our keywords in Amazon ads, right? Because that way, Our SEO is doing its job. It understands what the book is about. But very, very important, very, 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 very important, SEO and ads work together. They are one. SEO and ads are one. As soon as you start treating ads like it's a separate thing from SEO, you're going to be losing money. You're going to be losing money because you're treating it as two separate entities. However, they work together. It's like marriage, right? If you mess up the SEO and you only have ads, the ads are not going to be working well because you can't be married by yourself, right? It's a marriage. They have to come together in order to form a baby. Well, that's not marriage, that's something else, but let's not talk about that. But anyway, they work together. So the better your SEO, the better your ads will start performing. Because your ads will read your book listing and it will read the keywords. So when you go on ads and then you're like, hey, Amazon ads, I want to target how to paint landscapes for beginners. Whether it's broad match, phrase match, exact match, high bid, low bid, whatever you want, whatever you're going to target it as. If you want to target this keyword, if this keyword is inside your SEO, your Amazon ads are more likely to perform for this keyword. Because Amazon doesn't want to show you, just because you're giving Amazon money, by the way, doesn't mean they're going to show your book, right? Just because you're bidding on a keyword does not mean your book is going to show up for that keyword. If you're going to bid for a keyword, what Amazon is going to do is Amazon ads is going to read it, and if it finds similar keywords in your listing, it's going to say, oh, you know what? This book is actually relevant for the keyword that it wants to target. Okay, I'll show them for Amazon ads, right? But if I'm selling a how to paint landscapes for beginners, and all my keywords in my SEO is how to paint landscapes for beginners, and then in Amazon ads, I have dinosaur coloring book for kids, then that keyword is not going to perform all that great with Amazon ads. It might not even push, you might not even get impressions for that keyword because Amazon can see that it's not appropriate for your book. And the last thing Amazon wants to do is show your book in front of someone that doesn't want to buy it. Do you know why? Because they won't make money, right? Amazon wants to make money. It's the only reason they exist. They just want to make money. But it's not the only reason they exist. Maybe they like get data or share data, make money from data, and they have other things going on. But it's not my business. So Amazon wants to make money. If they show a book in front of an irrelevant audience for an irrelevant keyword, they're not going to make money. If they show your book in front of people that are searching for your book, they're going to make money, assuming your book is good. But we're going to get into that right now. So that's keywords. Oh no, there's one more thing we need to talk about. So with SEO, we understand that we have hyper-targeted, targeted, and broad. The exact same thing will happen with Amazon ads. So if we have 30 keywords, we're going to separate them with hyper-targeted, targeted, or broad, and then we can run these in Amazon ads, all 30 of the keywords, right? Because a keyword can perform differently with SEO and differently with Amazon ads. Amazon ads, you can control the placement, where it shows. So you can be shown more often for the better keywords, the hyper-targeted ones. The SEO, you have to make sales and push up your ranking. We'll get into it. You're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. Promise you. We want to take these three groups and then we want to run them for Amazon ads as separate campaigns. So we're going to have 3 campaigns essentially for our keywords. Now, obviously, if you have more keywords, you want to separate it even more. However, you should separate your keywords or into groups at least. I promise you, if you go inside your Amazon ads and then you have a campaign with more than 20 keywords, your Amazon ads are not as effective as they possibly could be. If you have a campaign with 100 keywords, I don't even know what you're doing. It's not 2012. Well, actually, it's not 2020. I think 2020 things started to change. However, if you have Amazon ads and then you have a combination of keywords, they're different keywords. So how to paint landscapes for beginners, right? This is hyper-targeted. And then I might have a collection of other keywords like how to paint, right? That's a broader one. I want to separate how to paint into a separate campaign than the hyper-targeted ones, right? Now, I can have multiple hyper-targeted keywords, but I want to put them all in one campaign. I'm just making it easier for myself and easier for Amazon. If you just mix all your keywords in one campaign, you're making it very, very difficult for Amazon. You're confusing Amazon. It's different keywords. It's different, you're going to understand everything in a bit. But all I'm saying is separate your keywords in a campaign. Don't have more than 15 keywords in a campaign. Now, I know this might not be the clearest thing, but we have a lot of things to talk about, right? I can't sit here for like 5 hours just explaining keywords. So I'm gonna give you what I can, and then I don't know. Do whatever you want with it, right? Do whatever you want with this advice. But anyway, now we basically have good SEO because we have appropriate keywords, broad and targeted keywords and hyper-targeted keywords. No matter how many keywords we have them in SEO, and we're also targeting them with ads. So guess what? We are being shown up for keywords on Amazon, right? When people search for something related to our book actually shows up because we're targeting the keyword. Great. What's step 2? Well, because it's actually shown up. Well, by the way, if you're never being shown for these keywords, if you're doing the keywords wrong, nothing else is going to work. That's why you're not making sales, right? Now, what if you are shown for the keywords? Well, the next step is, are you getting impressions, right? Now, what are impressions? Impressions are probably the least valuable form of data. Now, that's probably going to make a lot of people angry, but let me kind of explain what I mean. So, impressions. What are impressions? Impressions basically means, or one impression basically means your book popped up in the search results, but it actually popped up on someone's screen, right? So if I have a laptop right here, imagine this is my laptop screen, and I search for something on Amazon right here. I search for how to paint book for beginners. Then I might see 4 results right here, and then I might see another 4 down here, but maybe it's not all the way because I have to scroll down. All of these got 1 impression. But guess what? The entire page 1, there's still more of page 1 down here, right? This is a laptop screen, by the way. I hope that this makes sense. This is a laptop screen. Okay, all of these got an impression. Now, there's still books down here. You just haven't scrolled to them yet, right? There's so many books down here. There's probably an ad right here, and then you have the video over here, and then the book, and the price, and blah, blah, blah. And then even more books down here. Great. Now, these got an impression. These don't have an impression yet. As soon as you scroll down, and then you scroll down the page, when these guys show up on the screen, so your screen looks like this, the search bar gets removed, you scroll down, these will start to get an impression. Now, these got an impression, right? And when you go down, if eventually you get to your ad, or like someone else's ad, when the ad pops up on the screen, that's when the ad gets an impression. That's an impression. Something just shows up on someone's screen. Now, what's valuable about an impression? Not a lot. There is some sort of value, but it's not the most valuable piece of data. And the reason is because the only thing impressions actually tell us is how many eyeballs are on our book. Now, if you look at impressions, it also gives you like a good estimation of search volume, or at least maybe not 100% search volume for the keyword, because sometimes, like, if I say search volume, there's going to be people out there like, no, but search volume is something different. Okay, fair enough. I won't say search volume. I'll just say traffic, right? I'll just say traffic to your book. So when you see impressions, it can tell you how much traffic roughly is going towards your book, and it can also give you kind of like search volume a little bit. Let me explain. So if I have keyword 1 and keyword 2, and this keyword got 1 million impressions this month, but then the second keyword got 700 impressions, which keyword is performing better? You might say this one, because there's more people seeing it. Well, this one, so what I can tell from this is like, there might be more people searching for this keyword, which is why it's getting more impressions. Now, if I go in my ads and this one's getting 1 million impressions, but this one's getting 700 impressions, and then I see that my bid in my ads over here is like $1, but over here it's like 15 cents, then great. This is probably getting less impressions because my bid is too low. So impressions just kind of tell you how much traffic or how many people are actually looking at your book. However, that's not very valuable information. Right? And I know you're probably shouting at me through the screen, but just let me explain why. Let me explain why I don't think impressions, like, they don't matter as much. The only reason I believe that impressions matter is to tell you if there's actually traffic coming on, right? Because if you have 0 impressions, I know that people are not looking for it. So when people are searching for it, my book is not popping up. So they can tell me that it might be on page 2, which is why people are not seeing it. My bid might be too low in my ads. That's getting a little bit too advanced. I promise you I'll get to everything else. But the main reason why we have impressions is purely so we can calculate your CTR. Now, what's your CTR? This is your click-through rate. right? What's your click-through rate? This is, I don't know if I spelled this right. Oh, I just put it all together. There's a space right here. There's a space right here. But click-through rate, what is your click-through rate? That means what percentage of people that saw my book or it popped up on their screen, they got an impression, what percentage of them actually clicked on my book, right? Without the number of impressions, we can't calculate a click-through rate. So if 1,000 people, if you got 1,000 impressions for your book and you got 10 clicks, then your click-through rate is 1%. Because 1% of 1,000 is 10. Right? This is your click-through rate. Now, if we didn't have this piece of information, if we didn't have the impressions, we wouldn't be able to calculate the click-through rate. However, this is where it gets interesting, right? This is why I don't think impressions matter all that much. So I have some clients, when I'm on calls with clients and they're like, hey, Barry, I'm running Amazon ads and I got 20,000 impressions, but no saves. I'm like, great. Well, that doesn't mean anything. Like the fact that you got 20,000, you can get 1 million impressions if you want. Again, it doesn't really mean anything. And I'll tell you why. So we said, yeah, once you get an impression, the next step is how many clicks you're going to get, right? So once your book popped up on someone's screen, either they're going to click on it or they're not going to click on it, right? They don't really have another option. They either click on your book or they don't click on your book. They basically scroll or they click on someone else's book. That's the only two options. So impressions, if you get an impression, right, does that mean that someone wants your book or doesn't want your book? Well, you have no idea, right? Well, what if someone clicks on your book? So someone searched how to paint blah, blah, blah for beginners. And then there's like 50 books on page 1. I think it's like 30 books, but I'm just over-exaggerating so you can understand my point. But let's say there's like 30 books on page 1. If they click on your book, what does that tell you? They tell you that they're at least interested in your book, right? So right here, the customer took an action, right? Here, a customer took an action. They clicked on your book. Now that action that they took shows that they're interested. If they didn't take action, that shows that they're not interested, right? Now, when it comes to impressions, what action did the customer take? They didn't take any action. They simply searched a keyword and now they're looking at their options. So if they click on your book, they have some sort of investment. They're like, hey, you know what? I like this book cover, right? So I'm going to click on it. This looks interesting to me. Impression, no value whatsoever. If you get 1 million impressions, it doesn't mean 1 million people are interested in your book. If you get 1 million clicks, then 1 million people were interested in your book. And then you probably lost them somewhere else, right? Because they actually take action to click, but they don't take action to get an impression. All you have to do is scroll, right? You don't notice most of the books on page 1. You notice the good ones that you click on, but you completely disregard all the other ones. If there's 30 books on page 1 and you click on 5 of them, that means, well, it doesn't mean you consciously decided not to click on 25. It just means you probably consciously decided not to click on 5 or 6 of them. And the other 15, you don't even remember their book covers. They probably just went right past you. You just scrolled right past them. You weren't even conscious of it. So when it comes to impressions, that's why I don't think it's like a very valuable unit of measurement, especially in terms of success. Now, it's very good in order to see your click-through rate, but it doesn't really tell us anything about the customer or how well something is performing. It doesn't tell us how well your book is performing. So if you're judging your book based on impressions, then that's a very terrible judgment to make. That's a bad way of seeing how your book is performing. So impressions don't matter, but what do matter is clicks, right? Let's talk about clicks. Now, when it comes to clicks, in order for us to actually measure how effective our click-through rate is, we need the impressions, right? And one question you might be asking is, how many impressions is good enough, right? How many impressions is good? How many impressions should I be getting a day? I get asked these questions all the time. So the answer is different for everyone. There's people that have like a set amount of impressions. But again, if you don't have enough traffic for that keyword, you're probably never going to get that amount of impressions, right? If you're targeting a very long tail keyword that very, very few people are searching, then you might not get 1,000 impressions a day. You might get 50, but you might not get 1,000. So if someone tells you 1,000 impressions a day and you have a keyword that's like profitable, but it's not getting 1,000 impressions a day, it's getting like 100 or it's getting 50, but you're still making sales, then great. It might mean like there's like lower search volume. Again, there's so many different side things that might happen with your book. So I can't go over every single possibility or outcome of your book. However, clicks, yeah, impressions. So with impressions, how many is good? Well, if the purpose of impressions is to help us measure the click-through rate, the amount of impressions you should aim for should be enough for you to make a coherent, conclusive decision on how good your click-through rate is. Let me explain. So, if our click-through rate is 0.5%, is that a good click-through rate? Well, I don't know what you answered because I'm not a psychic and I can't hear your thoughts through the screen. But if you have a 0.5% click-through rate, then if that's good or not depends on how many impressions you got. So if we get 2,000 impressions, let's say, at a 0.5% click-through rate, what does that mean? How many clicks did we get? Well, that means we got 10 clicks, right? Because 1% would have been just 2. Oh no, it would have been 20. See, I'm so bad at maths. But 1% would have been 20. So half a percent is half of 20, which is 10 clicks, right? So 10 clicks is good enough for us to see, well, it might be a little bit too low, again, depending on the traffic. But if we get 10 clicks, then we can be like, hey, you know what? We have a 0.5% conversion rate, click-through rate for this keyword. If you have another keyword, which again has a 0.5% click-through rate, however, it has like 500 impressions, then what does that mean? That means, well, that's divided by 4, that's divided by 4. We got like 2 clicks basically. Great. So 500 impressions is not enough. So we don't actually have a 0.5% click-through rate for this keyword. This is keyword 1 and this is keyword 2. Right? Keyword 1 and then keyword 2. So if we have a 0.5% click-through rate with only 500 impressions, we only actually got 2 clicks. Now, is 2 clicks enough data for us to make a good decision on whether this is a good keyword or not? No, it's only 2 clicks, right? But 10 clicks is is more data, right? If we have 50 clicks, then we can calculate the click-through rate using the impressions. So how many impressions should you get? It depends on how many clicks you actually have. So if you're getting 100 impressions a day and you're not getting clicks, great. You can start increasing bids and things like that so you can increase your impressions because you need more impressions. Now, if you have 100 impressions and then you have like 7 clicks, well, that's actually pretty good. Your click-through rate is going to be super high, right? And then you might not need to get more impressions. Obviously, again, it's like ads is different. You can increase bids to get, because if it's working so well, then you want to increase it to boost your book even more, right? But again, I'm getting sidetracked. So the amount of impressions that you should aim for, well, personally speaking, everyone has their own theories and their own things, no problem. But I mean, with impressions, the only reason I would look at impressions is just to measure the click-through rate. And if I have enough data, then great, I have enough impressions. But yeah, I don't really look at impressions. I just use it for the click-through rate. But anyway, clicks. Now, just like we said, clicks is essentially the first interaction the customer makes, right? So it's their first investment, basically. They've invested in your book, right? Well, they didn't actually invest with money, but investment doesn't just mean money. They invested with a click, right? They're like, hey, this looks interesting. So you did a good job. Well done. If you're getting clicks, great. If you're getting clicks for appropriate keywords as well, great. Now, your customer invested in your book, right? They clicked on your book. Well done to you. Now, if you're getting impressions but you're not getting clicks, that's why you're not making sales, right? Because you're not getting clicks. You can't even get the customer to invest in the first step, right? So if they're not taking the first step, you can't sell them afterwards, right? If you're showing up on their screen, but they're not clicking on your book, great. You're losing sales because you're not convincing them to take the first step. They need to take the first step. Your responsibility is to show up there, right? And then your book, or at least book cover, needs to be good enough to get a click because it all depends on the book cover. Now, how do you get a click or at least a high click-through rate with your book cover? Well, just like we said before, you're going to see 30 books on page 1, right? I think it's a little bit more than 30, but let's just say 30 for the video's sake. So if we see 30 books, you search something on Amazon, you see 30 books. Are you clicking on every single book that pops up on page 1? Be completely honest with me. Are you clicking on every single book, opening the tab for every single book on page 1? No. Okay, so you're not. So which books are you actually clicking on? Right? Which books are you clicking on? Well, you might say, The ones that are most attractive, right? The attractive ones, the ones that pop. I hear so many publishers say this. Oh, make me a book cover that pops. Do you even know what pop means? Can you extract the word pop? Like, what does pop actually mean? You might have your own idea of it. Like, I understand what you say when you say pop. Like, if you tell me I want a book cover that pops, I understand what you mean because I'm a designer myself and I understand the design principles needed to make a book cover pop. So I understand. But if you go to an inexperienced designer, by the way, I'm going off track again, but that's just how I am. So if you go to an inexperienced designer and you tell them make my book cover pop, it'll be very hard for them to like even comprehend what you're saying. They're gonna start doing things out of their own brain, right? Because they don't understand the design principles. You need to make your book cover attractive. Now, when you say pop, essentially, I'm guessing what you mean is you want it to stand out from competitors, right? You want it to stand out. So when you're looking at 30 books, your one has to be a little bit different where they like take a second step. They take like a little pause and they're like, wait, what's this? This one looks interesting. Okay, let me click on it, right? Let me invest in it because you created curiosity in their brain, right? So you need to have an attractive book cover. Now, when it comes to attractive book cover, there's so many different principles that go into making an attractive book cover or a book cover that pops, right? If you really want to make a book cover that pops, you need to understand design principles. That's if you're doing the book cover yourself. Even if you're hiring, it's good to understand the principles because you can clearly see which book cover will perform better than other ones. Now, there's many ways to do this. Sometimes it's like with colors. Sometimes it's like there's different. I'm not going to talk about book covers because we have so many other things to cover right here. But if you're not getting clicks, then first step is your book cover is just not attractive enough, right? There's no element of it that stands out. It doesn't pop, right? And pop can be different things. You might not have any contrast in your cover. What do I mean by this? This is what contrast is, right? This book cover pops. Let me see if I can find it now. There we go. This one here. It's a book called Hook Point, right? Does this book cover pop? Of course it pops. Why? Because it's a blue background, a super dark background. Can you see a dark blue background with a bright red text, bright white text, bright red umbrella, bright white text. So it's dark background and bright foreground colors. I think that's what it's called. But you can see dark background and then all the text is light, right? It's either white or it's either bright red, which is the opposite of the background. So this book cover pops, right? You can see the outline of the text. It pops, right? Every single successful book cover does this. So high contrast is just one of the principles that your book cover needs to have in order for it to pop. Then you go into other ones like hierarchy. Which words are they going to read first, right? What's your main image? Does your main image even represent what your book is about, right? Does your main image cause someone to stop scrolling, right? There's other psychological principles I'm not going to reveal here. I will gatekeep some of my secrets. It's only for my students, but there are some psychological principles that if you apply them, they will help stop someone from scrolling because it's psychological. It's like you can't help it. So step one is to make an attractive book cover, one that's going to stop someone from scrolling. Now you can stand out from your competitors. That's one way. You can make it pop. Try to get it to stand out, right? However, once someone looks at your book, right, just because you attracted their attention, just because their attention is on your book, doesn't mean they're going to invest. It doesn't mean they're going to click on your book, right? Because here's what happens. You have a person, as soon as someone sees your book or your book cover, because we're still on the search results, right? We want to get as many clicks as possible. If you're not getting clicks right now, that's why you're not selling, right? It's your book cover the problem. You might have other problems as well, but if your book cover is not good and you're not getting clicks, it's very, 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 very hard for you to make sales, right? Because you're not getting anyone to invest in the first place. So there's two things your customer's going to ask as soon as they see your book cover. By the way, this is all subconscious. They're not going to consciously sit there and ask these questions, but it comes in their brain straight away. It's going to be in here as soon as they see it. The first question is this what I'm looking for? Right? That's the first question they're going to ask. As soon as they see your book cover, they're going to ask, is this what I'm looking for? So if someone's searching a how to paint, I can't remember what we were doing, how to paint book for beginners, right? Or something like that, how to paint for beginners. If they find an attractive book cover, but then it's not a how to paint book for beginners, it's a how to draw dinosaurs for kids, they're not going to click on it, right? So the first thing is your book cover needs to clearly convey that it's exactly what they're looking for, right? Your customer, as soon as they see it, within 1 to 2 seconds, you need to make it crystal clear that this is what you're looking for. Yes, this is a how to paint for beginners. And the second question they're going to ask is this high quality? Right? Now this is the important part, because even if it's exactly what they're looking for, there's so many books in your niche, probably, again, I don't know exactly for your specific niche, I'm just saying in general, there's probably so many books in your niche that are exactly what you're selling, but they're not making sales, right? They're getting a low click-through rate as well. Why? Because their book cover might be attractive, it might be what they're looking for, but it's not conveyed in the best way possible, right? And also the book cover is not high quality. What do I mean by this? When it comes to high quality, why is quality so important? Quality of book cover is so important. So if you hire someone for $50 and then you hire someone for like $800 for a book cover, you're going to be able to tell the difference. Because there's techniques that the designers doing $800 book covers are doing that $50 book cover designers can't do. They're not even at that awareness level yet, or that experience level. They don't even know that you can do things like that, right? So let me give you an example. So I have this book right here, yeah? This is I'm gonna have to remove everything now. Yeah, it's worth it, that's okay. This book right here, this book cover right here. And you see it, this is Will Smith's book. Great. Now, I showed you this book cover, yeah? Now, if you had to go make that in Canva yourself, how would you do it? Right? I'll show you it again, and I'll tell you the layers as well. And you see, first of all, you're going to have to sketch out Will Smith in this sketch kind of texture, right? And then, the font is easy, right? But then, there's like all this paint in the background. So you're going to have to find layers of paint and things like that. If you go to any inexperienced designer and tell them, hey, I want a book cover of Will Smith, I guarantee you no one's going to do it like this. No one's going to do like this creative paint concept with his face here. Do you know what they're going to do? Like, they're going to go on Google Images, search Will Smith, find an image, slap it, find a random font, put it on the top, and then sell it to you. That's it. They're not going to go through the extra effort to get extra layers and then make it sketch. Why do they want to make it sketch? Why do they not put a real life image there? Like, why? What's the benefit, of having a sketch version of Will Smith? Because it's all psychological, right? It's friendlier. It makes it feel more approachable in a way. Now look at the colors, the way the colors all blend together. They pick yellow and blue because they're complementary colors, right? It's all psychological. Everything is psychological, right? So if you hire cheap designers, now by the way, I'm not saying that every single cheap designer is terrible at design, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, if you're going to pay someone with more experience and someone like at a higher price, they're usually going to do a better job, right? Just like if you go to a hotel and it's like $50 a night for this hotel or $400 a night for this hotel, the $400 one is probably going to be nicer, right? You might get super lucky or super unlucky, depending on how you view reality, but you might get super lucky or super unlucky, and then you pay $400 and it's worse than the $50 one, right? But what are the chances of that? It's less likely, right? So again, there's psychological principles that can enhance the quality, right? If you're part of my program, I'm not here to tell you my program, by the way, but if you're part of the program, because I know a lot of students still watch the YouTube videos as well, if you're part of the program, go through the book design masterclass. I've got 12 design principles. They're all going to ensure that you have quality book covers. Now, I know this works. I don't tell you anything that I haven't tested. I know this works because I had a client, he was publishing his second book. Right? Now, by the way, this guy's a G. This guy was like on 250 ABSR in the US marketplace at one point. He was selling like 180 copies a day, right? And that was his first book, his first ever business, his first book. And he came to me and we worked together and we got to 249 ABSR on Amazon, right? Which is insane. First book. It's the first book he ever made. Amazon KDP was the first business he ever ran, right? He didn't know anything about business, well, maybe he knew some things about business, I'm not sure. But he didn't know anything about KDP. And still, he destroyed more than 99.9% of publishers. He was in the 0.1% of publishers. But anyway, what he did is he was running a book cover design contest. So we got a bunch of book covers. He didn't know which one to pick. Because I understand the 12 design principles that I shared with you in my program, there was one cover that had most of the principles. There were a few missing, but again, most of the principles were there. All the other ones had less of those principles. So this one might have had 4, this one might have had 5. This one might have had 3. This one had like 9 out of the 12, right? And I said, hey, don't listen to me. I'm only making an assumption. I'm only telling you my opinion. But I think this book cover is going to outperform everything else purely because it has these design principles inside it. And guess what? He ran a contest against these 4, right? This book cover won. Then what he did is he ran a book cover design contest, not a contest, he ran a poll to see which one works better, so people vote on their favorite covers. So they picked this one against the 4 other ones that he did. So he disregarded, I think he disregarded these 2 because these 2 got the most amount of votes. And then what he did is he put these 2 against the top selling competitor in that niche. The top selling competitor in that niche. And guess what book cover won? Again, the original one with most of the design principles. Now, am I a genius? No. I just know that 9 principles is better than 5, right? It's as simple as that. So if you understand the design principles, then you can automatically have a much, much higher quality cover. Now, why is it so important? Well, if you see a book cover and it's bad, it's really bad, it's disgusting. First of all, you're not going to click on it, right? And even if you do, what do you assume about the interior of the book? If the book cover is terrible and cheap and bad, whatever you assume about the book cover, you assume about the interior, automatically. Automatically. I've never seen anyone be like, hey, that book cover looks really bad, but I bet the book is really good. Never. Now, I'm talking about if you don't know the book. Like, if you know the author and you know the book and you know it's going to be good, right? So, like, here, I have a book cover that's not the best book cover in the world, but it's a Carl Jung book. Carl Jung. Yeah. It's a Carl Jung book. I don't care about the book cover. I care about the contents inside. However, when you're selling books on Amazon, and then you're brand new and no one knows you, everyone knows Carl Jung. Not everyone, I'm, again, over-exaggeration. He's a psychologist, not a psychologist. He came up with the word introvert, right? This guy's a big guy. But anyway, if your book cover is bad, your customer automatically assumes the interior is bad. If your book cover is good, what does the customer assume that your interior is going to be? Good, right? Now guess what? What if your book cover is amazing and it follows the 12 design principles? It's like super high quality book cover, right? I can't explain to you why. I'm not going to explain why, but like there's different ways of seeing different quality book covers. Now, if your book cover is amazing, what does that tell the customer? What do they assume about the interior of your book? That it's going to be amazing, right? They assume it's going to stay consistent. They assume it's going to follow. They assume that if you put that much effort into the book cover, imagine how much effort you put into the actual book, right? So your book cover needs to clearly convey that, yes, this is what I'm looking for. And by the way, clearly convey, this is what you need. If you're not getting clicks, right, and you're not getting sales because you're not getting clicks, you're not getting good enough clicks, then you might not be clear enough on your book cover. You need to make your book cover clearer. If I'm selling a how to paint landscapes for beginners, guess what image I'm going to put on the book cover? I'm going to put a landscape, right? Or I'm going to put like a paintbrush and landscapes, right? I want people to see my book cover and clearly understand what my book is about without them even having to read it. If you want to see if your book cover is effective, take your book cover as it is, adjust the letters. So however you have your title and subtitle, take it and just put random letters, non-readable. So let's say if your title is paint, right? This is on your book cover. Your title is paint. Great. Make the P a B, make it J, O, N, and then make it like W, right? Now this is a word that you can't read. It's not a real word. So the point of this is you need to be able to understand what your book is about without having to read the title. If you can do that, then it's going to be very, very easy for someone to quickly figure out what they're looking for. Or like if that book that they're looking at, your book, if that's what they're looking for. Because they're going to clearly understand what your book is about without even having to read your title, right? And again, they got another 30 books to look at. You need to make it as easy as possible for them, as clear as possible to them, right? So, yes, attract attention. Yes, have like high contrast and make it pop and make it look nice. However, make sure you're 100% clear on what your book is about and you convey it in your book cover, right? I had a woman, she was doing a stress eating book, and then there was a donor on the book cover. Now, that's a bit like, it's a donor, right? That has nothing to do with stress eating. Like, you might be thinking, oh yeah, but stress eating with donuts, and it's like, you're stretching too far. I don't know if that's like the saying, but you're reaching. So if I'm selling a stress eating book, the book cover is going to show a woman, well, if I'm targeting women, it will show a woman, but it will show a woman stressing and then multiple pieces of food around her, right? I'm going to show a woman in the middle stressing, and then maybe I'll have KFC and Burger King and chicken and fries and donuts and desserts, everything around her, right? So now even if I don't read the subtitle or the title, just by looking at the main image of a woman stressing, a food around her, my brain it's faster for my brain to think, hey, this is probably a stress eating book because I see a woman stressing and food around her, right? Not just a donut. If I show you just a donut, you think it's a donut book or a book on how to make donuts, how to cook donuts, how to bake donuts or whatever. Right? I hope this makes sense. I hope this is making sense. So you have to clearly convey what your book is about with your book cover, and you have to ensure that it's high quality design-wise, right? Make sure you have multiple layers. I'm not going to go too much into design. Design is like a long subject. I can talk about design for like hours. But if you're part of the training, if you have access to my program, then great. You have access to the book cover masterclass. Go through that. Go learn the 12 design principles. Apply it to your book. You will see an increase in your click-through rate. If you apply the principles in your book, you will see an increase in your click-through rate. I'm not supposed to guarantee anything, but it's been tested. It's been tested hundreds of times, and it works. So anyway, yeah, this is definitely going to be a very, very long video. But clicks, there we go. So now we fixed your clicks. So now your keywords are correct. People are finding you. You're getting impressions, and then also your click-through rate is high, right? Because your book cover is good, whatever we talked about. Now, after you got the click, then you can figure out why you're not making sales. Now, if you're getting clicks and you're still not making sales, then you need to figure out your listing, right? Your sales. You're not getting sales. So after the click, people look at your listing. And if your listing is lacking, then you're losing sales. You're literally missing out on sales. This is the easiest way to increase your sales. If you only listen to this throughout the whole video, whatever I said about the rest of the video, well, as long as you're getting impressions, if you're getting impressions and you only listen to this part of the video, you will get more sales. You will get more sales. Now, before I tell you, I'm just going to go make another coffee because I just need another coffee and then I'll be back. Okay, so I realized another coffee is probably not the best thing for me. Let's actually do this next section a little bit more chill, right? Because I think I've been shouting way too much. Let's do this a little bit more smooth. So, sales. Now, when I talk about sales, what I mean is the listing page that someone sees after they click your book, right? So this is all about the listing. Now, if you're able to optimize your listing correctly, you're going to see the biggest change. I'm going to show you, I promise you. That other board, by the way, is not just for show. There's other things coming for that board. I promise you. When I pull that board out, you're going to understand the whole thing. I promise you. Now, your listing, right? Very, 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 very important. Why? Because this is when a customer makes a decision if they're going to buy your book or not. Now, guess what? A customer that's searching how to paint blah, 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 and then they click on your book, do you think you're the only person they're clicking on? You're the only book they're clicking on? No, right? Why? Because your customers want to find the best book in the niche, the books that's going to solve their problem the best. Now, they're probably going to click on your book, assuming that you did your book cover correctly, like we spoke about. However, they're also going to click on other people's books in the same niche because they're trying to find the best book in the niche. They're going to click on all of them and they're going to compare between them, right? Your job is for them to pick you, right? Now, how do you get them to pick you over everyone else? It's very, very simple. And I know as soon as I'm going to write it, you're probably going to skip. However, it's value. Now, here's the thing. Before you skip, you're allowed to skip, just give me 10 seconds. You might have a very, very, very valuable book. However, you might not be presenting it in the best way. You might not be presenting or showing the value in the best way possible. Now, if I have a golden treasure, or let's say I have like 10K in my pocket right now, cash, right? If I'm just wearing this, no one's going to assume I have 10K cash on me, right? However, if I'm wearing like a Rolex or maybe like a chain or something, or I don't know, how do people flex? I pull up in a Lambo, right? I get out a Lambo with my shiny diamond Rolex, right? People might assume, hey, you know what? That guy probably has cash on him. But then if they see Barry KDP with a robe walking down the street, they're like, this guy's homeless, right? So it's the way you present value. Now, here's the thing. In order to present value, first you have to create value, right? And you can't create value unless you understand your customer, right? Because your customer is the person that determines the value of your book compared to everyone else's. Now, if you understand your customer better than everyone else, or you understand your customer on a deep level, then you understand what they want and you can give them exactly what they want better than everyone else. What do I mean by this? If you have a daughter, right, and she's 10 years old and a complete stranger comes and then he's like, okay, well, let me get your daughter something for her birthday. Actually, not a complete stranger because that's kind of weird. Let's just say a family member, her uncle comes. And then she's like, oh, it's her birthday. I'm going to buy a gift for this person, for this little kid. And then also the dad of the kid or the mom, I don't know what gender you are, whatever you are, if your daughter, if it's her birthday, you have to buy her a gift as well. I'm stuttering so much, I'm so sorry. But you have to buy her a gift as well. Now, guess what? Who do you think is getting the better gift? Assuming you have the same budget and everything. You or the random uncle that sees your daughter like once a year. Probably you, right? Because you've been living with her for like 10 years. You understand her better than anyone else. So you know what she wants and you can give her what she wants better than everyone else. So you need to understand your customer in order to give value. Now, one more important thing, because for some niches out there, there's not much you can do to amplify the value of the book. Like if you're doing like cookbook niches, sometimes there's like 28-day meal plans and grocery lists and bonus recipes and things like that, right? They're all kind of the same. So you can't really offer something new. Again, if you're creative, you can, right? But let's say you can't offer something new, right? Or you can't really amplify the value of your book. This is the most important part, right? Even if you can't or you can, either way, if you want to create more value for your book, you need to have something unique, right? Or at least present it in a unique way, right? So just like that Will Smith book that I gave you, I showed you. So that Will Smith book, that book cover, if Will Smith was like a niche on KDP and everyone was publishing Will Smith books, right? And every single book cover had a real life picture of Will Smith and just a boring font and that's it. My book cover will stand out because of like all the whatever I showed you. I'll show you again. So can you see my one is going to be completely different from everyone else's in the niche. It's still Will Smith. We're still talking about the same story. The guy can't have like two lives, right? So we're still talking about the same story. However, my book cover is unique, right? And I'm presenting in a different way. Now, again, the same applies for your A+ content and things like that. You just need to be unique. It might be in terms of your marketing or design. It might be the writing style inside. It might be your formatting inside, right? If you have a how to draw book or how to paint book, if everyone just has like those boring how to draw books where it's just like, here's step 1 and here's the picture. Here's step 2, here's the picture. Like there's people that are like that. But there's other people that might put text down here. Now there's other ones that might make this one colored, right? The bullet list colored. I don't know if this makes sense, by the way. It makes sense in my mind, but I don't know if you can visualize what I'm visualizing. But I'll throw some images on the screen. So there's black and white how to draw books, which are very, very plain and simple. And then there's other how to draw books, which is like nice colored interior with text. It's informative. It's presented in a different way. It's presented in a nicer way. Now, both of them are teaching how to draw the exact same animals in basically the exact same style. However, it's presented in a different way. And if you can present something in a unique way, right, and you understand your customer so you can actually make your book valuable, then that way you have a unique book compared to these guys, and then that places you in like a separate category in someone's brain. Right now, uniqueness, it might be the style, right? So if everyone has like pictures, you might have illustrations. If everyone has illustrations, you might have like a different type of illustration. So like a watercolor illustration or a sketch illustration, kind of like the Will Smith book cover that I showed you. It might just be like thin line art. There's so many different types of illustrations. It can be a flat one. That's like the ones that all the businesses use. There's so many different types of illustrations. However, the important part is if you're presenting something unique, right? It can also be like 5 steps or less. So I had a book that I made. It was a how to draw book. And then everyone was doing how to draw cute stuff. And I did how to draw cute stuff in 5 steps or less. And then that book ended up making quite a bit of sales. Obviously not loads of sales because it was still early on for me, but it still made a bunch of sales. Why? Because it was, again, valuable. It was unique. I was the only guy doing 5 steps or less. So because it was unique, it was very easy for me to stand out from my competitors. Once they clicked on my listing and then they saw, hey, there's things inside here that's unique. Now, obviously that's a title, but again, in your A+ content, I screamed out in the A+ content, hey, it's 5 steps or less. I showed a page, a mock-up page inside that there was only 5 steps, right? I'm showing. Now, that's very important. You basically want to shout, right? All the unique things in your book. You want to shout all the value in your book. And in order for you to shout that out, you also need to execute this correctly. So what do I mean by this? So your description and A+ content, if you don't pay attention to it, if you just kind of, if you don't actually put effort into your A+ content, right, you're missing out on sales because people are clicking on your listing, they're comparing you to others, and then their A+ content might be better than yours. They might not even have A+ content and still perform better than yours because your A+ content actually lowers your conversion rate, actually decreases your sales. Because if you don't execute the A+ content correctly, it can decrease your sales. I had a client, they had A+ content, it was bad A+ content, they removed it and they made more sales, right? And then only after they put effective A+ content, then they were able to make even more sales, right? So bad A+ content can actually lower your sales. So you need to execute it correctly. And when it comes to shouting as well, I had a client and she had a book, really, really good book. She put so much effort into this book, such a good book, super valuable book, right? And we were on a call together. And basically, I went through her A+ content and it basically did not give me anything. It didn't say anything about her book or what's inside. Very, very, very broad, generic kind of things. And when I was on the call, I asked her, why should someone buy your book and not someone else's book? What's different to your one? Like, what's different with your book? And she said, oh, Barry, this is different and this is different. And then I also have this that no one else has. And I was like, great. You listed 3, 4 different things. Why are you not telling people in your A+ content that those things exist? And then that kind of like lit a light bulb in her head, saying she understands the value because she made the book. She knows it's good, but she's not telling other people that it's good, right? You have to tell them what's inside, right? To amplify the value of your book. Making it is one, but conveying the value to someone else is something else. You have to have both of them in order to actually create value. Value is created in the customer's brain, right? But you have to put the thoughts in. I don't know if that makes sense. I think I sound like a psychopath, but anyway, as long as you execute everything correctly, so your listing needs to be good. Shout out everything good about your book. Put it in your description, right? You have your SEO from before, so you actually start showing up. Also, when you're writing a description, write it for humans. Tell them all the good things about your book. Tell them why it's valuable to them. Tell them why it's beneficial to them. Tell them what's different about yours. Is there something in yours that isn't in other people's? Tell them. Tell them what's inside. Because they're going to see the other people anyway. They're going to compare you anyway. You need to maximize the chances of them picking you. And if you have something unique or you convey it in a unique way, and you also understand your customer, so you actually know you have a valuable book and you have valuable things to give to someone that wants those things that you're giving, then great. Execute it correctly, your conversion rate will go up, and then you will make more sales. And the same applies for your book cover as well. If you have something unique, show it on your book cover. This woman, same woman, she had a USP. She had a unique selling point, something that no one else had in her niche. And guess what? It was the smallest thing on her book cover, right? The unique thing about her book, the thing that makes her stand out, was the smallest thing on her book cover. And guess what? As soon as I revealed this to her, like she knew subconsciously, but no one ever consciously brought it to her mind for her to realize. When I revealed this to her, this was her reaction. So your unique angle, where you're shouting at the customer, hey, buy my book because I have this unique thing. You made it the smallest thing on the cover.
Right. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Awesome. Yay.
Right?
I'm glad I'm talking to you. Awesome. Okay, great.
Right? Because sometimes things are obvious, but sometimes other things are just like, they might be skipping past you. So you might be hearing me just rambling right now, but go check out your listing and take a look at it and say, hey, are you telling everyone all the things that are actually inside? list out all the benefits of your book. List out like the benefits for other people if they read your book. If everyone has like 90 illustrations and you have 120, tell them you have 120, right? Don't hide things that are inside your book. Don't hide the value of your book. Shout it. Shout the value of your book as much as possible. Okay, so sales is done. Now, obviously, there's more things that come into the listing. Like you can optimize your listing in so many different ways, right? I'm just giving you the biggest things. Like if you literally focus on these, you will see better results, right? There's more things that you can do, okay? There's more things, right? But these are like the biggest things. Because if you do all the tiny things, all the tiny tweaks but you don't like talk about the uniqueness of your book, then you're doing half a job basically. But anyway, sales. So we did the whole system. We're showing off for the correct keywords. We're getting clicks because our book cover is good. We're also getting sales because we're showing the value of our book. Great. Now, because we're getting sales, we're also going to be getting reviews, right? Now, reviews, super, super easy. I'm not going to go too deep into reviews. We talk about reviews in basically every single video that I make. But basically, with reviews, what you should focus on is just get it up to 100, right? Honestly, that's all you need to know about reviews. If you're publishing a book and you have like the whole system is good, just keep going until your reviews reach 100, right? Now, for some niches, I'm not saying that you can't make sales without having 100 reviews, by the way. Okay, I'm just saying how to maximize how much money you're making from a book, right? Not how to make a little bit of money with a book, how to make as much money as possible from one single book, right? Reviews, get it over 100. Now, I had a client, right? And he was on, what was he on? He was like 400 ABSR. He was on like 450 ABSR. So he was making around, I actually wrote it down just so I don't forget. Okay, so he was on 400 ABSR. He was making 129 sales a day. The way I found this was, well, first of all, I work with him, but then also you can go on like, what's it called? Kindlepreneur's calculator. So ABSR calculator on Google, and then Kindlepreneur, the website will pop up. Click on that. You can put the rank, you can put paperback, you can put Amazon.com because we were selling in the US. And then it will give you roughly how many copies we were making a day, how many copies we were selling a day. So this guy was selling 400, he was 400 ABSR, selling 130 copies a day basically. Now here's the thing. At this point, he was on 92 reviews. It's a good amount of reviews, but it's not 100. Guess what happened when he hit 111 reviews? His ABSR dropped to 249, right? Because he was, it might not be 100% because of reviews, but reviews played a massive role in this change, right? Now, 249 ABSR means 100 and, what was it? 180 copies a day, right? So basically, if this was 130, it's around 50 copies extra a day. Now, times that by 30, which is the days of the month, and then he's selling another 1,500 copies a month. Why? Because he got, what, 19 extra reviews. So these 19 reviews that got him to over 100 brought him an extra 1,500 sales every single month. So with reviews, do your best to go over 100 reviews. Anyway, next point. Now that we have reviews, here's the best part. Here's the final part. If you understand this, then you'll understand the whole system. And I'm going to show you how they work together as well, because it's not just about having the system, but how they work together. If you understand that, you're going to understand the value of every single step. But the final step is ranking, right? So you want to rank as high as possible, right? Now, what is ranking and how does Amazon rank your book? Well, it's very, very, very simple. Let me just take this away real quick. Okay, so ranking. The way ranking works. Now, remember those 5 or 6 competitors, however many they are. So let's say we have 5 competitors right here. Now, one of this is us. What Amazon is going to do is it's going to pick one of the keywords. So let's say our keyword is how to paint for beginners. And then these 5 are our competitors, right? So what it's going to do is it's going to say, okay, for this keyword, they all have this keyword in their SEO, just like we do as well. They might be targeting it with ads as well. So they're bringing people on. And then Amazon is collecting data for each book. Now, basically, I'll give you the broadest version of it. Amazon's going to check out the click-through rate and the conversion rate. And that's basically telling Amazon how likely is someone to click on the book. And after they click, how likely are they to actually buy this book against the other people's books, right? So if this guy has a 0.1% conversion rate, 0.4% click-through rate and a 7% conversion rate. This guy has a 0.2 and he has like a 10% conversion rate. This guy might have a 0.5 but might have a 9% conversion rate. And then this guy might have a 1.2% click-through rate and then a 20% conversion rate. And then we might have a 0.6% click-through rate and a 16% conversion rate. Great. What Amazon is going to do is when someone searches this keyword specifically this, Amazon does this separately for each keyword or search term. When someone searches for it, Amazon is going to sort out the books based on these two pieces of data. There's other pieces of data as well. However, these are the two main ones, which is essentially, if we take it in KDP business terms, your book cover and your listing, right? Everything else for the back end, the SEO and everything is just to show up in the first place. So we showed up, and because we followed the book cover strategies, our book cover is good, and then our conversion rate is good. The average conversion rate on Amazon is around 10%, and everyone says like a good click-through rate should be 0.5%. Or like 0.3 is like not the best. 0.5 might be okay. And then anything above 1 is like really good, right? But again, click-through rate depends on like the keyword and everything as well. If the keyword is completely irrelevant, your click-through rate is going to be low because no one's going to click on your book if it's irrelevant, right? If the keyword is exactly what your book is, then your click-through rate should go up if your book cover is good because they're literally searching for your book specifically. So if they're searching for you and they don't click on you, it's because your book cover is not good. So book cover and listing. Now, R1 right here is 0.6 and 16% conversion rate. But this guy is higher on both. So this guy is going to rank higher than us. So this one might be guy number 1, right? This is guy number 1. Then the second one, it might be us because it looks like our data is pretty good. So we'll be number 2. And then these guys from these guys, it will look at these two. And maybe put this guy number 3 and then this guy number 4 and then blah, blah, blah. You get the point, right? Now, here's the thing. We want to rank as high as possible. And the only way we can do that is by having a high click-through rate, high conversion rate, very good book cover, very good listing. Now, here's where it gets interesting because ranking is all about, we already spoke about how to rank, right? We already spoke about the book covers and the listing. So now you know how to rank as long as you show up for the keyword. The better your book cover, the better your listing, the higher you will rank. Now, here's the thing. As soon as you rank, right, guess what happens? You get more impressions, right? The higher you rank, or essentially the better your book cover, the better your listing, the more impressions you get. Why? Because you rank higher. And before, when we spoke about getting impressions, an impression is when someone searches and it pops up on their screen. If you're one of the highest ranking ones, you get more impressions because you're always going to be on the screen. They don't need to scroll down. They don't have to take an action, right? They literally just have to search for it. Obviously, searching is an action as well, but I hope you get what I mean. But they're going to search for this. Your book is going to pop up on their screen, whether they like it or not. They have no choice. So they're going to see your book. And if your book cover is good and your conversion rate is good, well, actually, if your book cover is good only, then you would get a click. Now, very interesting statistic is the top 3, right? The top 3 listings on Amazon, when someone searches for anything, the top 3 listings get around 60 to 70% of the clicks, right? The top 3 get 70% of the clicks, statistically speaking. So if you're not ranking top 3, you're missing out on most of your customers. Why? Because your book cover might not be good or your conversion rate might not be good. Why does your conversion rate matter? Because the more sales you get, the more reviews you get, right? Because like, let's say your organic review ratio is like 3%. Every 100 sales, you get 3 reviews. Now, you probably have other ways of getting reviews as well. So you might go on book review websites. You might have your own email list. You might be running other methods of getting reviews. Whatever method you're running, as long as you're getting reviews, that's awesome. Now, the more reviews you get, the more sales you will make. Why? Because the more reviews you get, the more trust you have, the more people trust you. Just like I showed you before with the client that went from 400 ABSR to 249 ABSR. Right? We just got more reviews. Why? Because at 100 and above, they actually trust you. You're not like a new person. It's not risky, right? And there's 100 people that already bought from you guaranteed, and then they're giving their opinions. They have 100 pieces of data to look at to make sure this is a good book. If there's 4 reviews on your book, there's only 4 pieces of data that a customer can look at to determine if they should trust you enough to buy it, right? Now, again, some niches, you can make a lot of sales with lower reviews, no problem. But the more reviews you get, the more sales you make. And the more sales you make, the more reviews you get. Right? So this is a snowball effect right here, as long as your book is high quality. Now, the more sales you get, right? What happens the more sales you get? Well, the more sales you get, that means your conversion rate is increasing because you're getting more reviews as well. So because your conversion rate is increasing, guess what's happening? The higher your conversion rate, if you can beat this guy, you're going to be number one. And then what does that mean if you're ranking number one? Well, if you're ranking number one, then you're getting most of the clicks, right? So you're getting the most impressions. You're getting most of the clicks, right? So because you're getting most of the clicks, your click-through rate goes up. And then because you're getting so many clicks, you're also getting more sales. So your conversion rate goes up, reviews, conversion rate's going up, click-through rate is going up, you're ranking higher and higher for more and more keywords because you're targeting more and more keywords with ads and you're targeting more and more keywords with SEO. However, none of this works if you don't have every single one of these in place correctly. I hope you found this video valuable. If you want to work with me, link in the description. If you want to continue watching YouTube, click on this video. I mean, I don't know if you're bored of me. I mean, we got like, you've definitely been watching for an hour, so I don't know if you're going to watch another one from me. But if you are, well done to you. Man, respect. Because you're probably going to sit there, you probably have your notepad open as well. You're writing things down. Respect to you. But anyway, go out there and make a bunch of money with KDP.